When it comes to creating a beautiful garden, the secret is not just to have lush grass or stunning ornamental plants, but to plan every detail carefully. Imagine trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle without looking at the image on the box. It seems impossible, right? In the same way, good landscaping starts with a well-thought-out sketch. Great gardens around the world, such as the famous European architecture and urbanism projects, are perfect examples of how geometric precision and symmetry can transform any space into something breathtaking. No wonder these gardens look like they came straight out of a dream. But don't worry, you don't need to be a math genius to make this work in your own backyard. A simple sketch on paper can be the first step to visualizing how the space transformation will look. Start by observing the local climate and soil. After all, there's no point in dreaming about tropical plants if your garden is in a cold region. Choosing suitable species is like choosing the right cast for a movie. Everything flows better when the stars are in the right place. And of course, you can always ask an outdoor design expert for help if things get complicated. Now, imagine taking that initial sketch and seeing how it comes to life over time. You could start with a small flower bed and gradually expand it into a full-fledged residential garden. The cool thing is that, as you plan, new ideas will emerge. Perhaps a facade decor here, or even a sustainable garden there. And you know what's even more interesting? When we start thinking about the right plants, we realize that planning is just the beginning of a much greener journey full of possibilities. Choosing the right plants can be compared to putting together a football team. Each player has his or her own position and role, and success depends on how they combine on the field. In landscaping, the colors and textures of plants are key players in creating a beautiful and vibrant garden. Imagine mixing the deep green of lush grass with red or yellow flowers that pop out at you. It's like adding a touch of magic to the space. And let's not forget the differences between perennials and annuals. While the former are like long-time friends who stay for years, the latter are special guests who only show up for a season. Creating visual layers is also a great technique for adding depth to your home garden. For example, you can place tall shrubs in the background, medium-sized flowers in the middle, and ground covers in the front. This creates a sense of harmony and balance. Plus, choosing plants that are easy to maintain is always a good idea, especially for those who don't want to spend every weekend hunched over the flower bed. Any suggestions? Roses, lavender, and succulents are great options for those looking for beauty without much work. They are like that friend who is always welcome and never gives you a headache. But here's a fun reminder, it's not all roses literally. Sometimes, the wrong combinations can make your garden look like a party where no one understands each other. So, before you go out and buy everything you see, Think about how the plants will interact with each other and with the environment. And you know what's even more fascinating? When we start exploring how these choices can be complemented by structural elements, such as fences or paths, something we'll discover later. If landscaping were a house, the structural elements would be the pillars that support everything. Fences, arches, paths, and even fountains can transform a simple green space into a true refuge. Imagine walking along a stone path, surrounded by ornamental plants, and arriving at a rustic bench under a leafy tree. It sounds like a scene from a movie, right? These details not only guide the eye, but also create a unique experience for those who enjoy the residential garden. After all, who doesn't like a special corner where they can relax and admire the beauty of nature? But here's a secret: you don't need to spend a fortune to add these sophisticated touches. Recycled materials, such as wooden pallets or refurbished tires, can become unique pieces of facade decoration or even supports for hanging parts. And do you know that old rusty iron gate in the backyard? With a little paint and creativity, it can become a charming arch for climbing plants. The trick is to use your imagination and think outside the box, or better yet, outside the part. When well planned, these elements can bring harmony to the landscaping that will delight any visitor. And here's a final thought before we move on. While these structures give shape to the garden, they also need constant care to maintain their beauty. A stone path covered in moss or an archway taken over by plants can lose its charm if not well cared for. But don't worry, this isn't a problem. In fact, it's an opportunity to explore how maintenance can be simple and efficient, something we'll cover later. Even the most beautiful garden in the world can lose its charm if it doesn't receive the necessary care. After all, beauty without maintenance is like a car without gas. It simply doesn't work. The most stunning gardens we see in magazines or at that enviable neighbour's house have something in common: a routine of care that keeps everything running like a Swiss watch. Pruning, watering, and fertilising are like the plant's daily meals. Without them, even the lush grass can start to wilt. And let's face it, no one wants to see their precious ornamental plants looking tired, right? Fortunately, taking care of a residential garden doesn't have to be an impossible mission. With basic tools, such as pruning shears, watering cans and hose, you can already perform miracles in your green space. A valuable tip: establish a schedule for each task. For example, reserve Saturday mornings to prune the plants and check the irrigation. This way, you prevent small problems from turning into big headaches. And remember, you don't always have to do everything yourself. If your garden is large or complex, hiring a professional can be a worthwhile investment to ensure the health of your plants. But here's an interesting thought: while we take care of our garden, we can also draw inspiration from different styles and cultures around the world. Imagine applying maintenance techniques that are used in minimalist Japanese gardens or European sustainable gardens. These ideas can not only make the work more enjoyable, but also bring new meaning to your green space. And speaking of which, have you ever thought about how different cultures approach the concept of a perfect garden? That's exactly what we're going to explore next. Every culture has its own way of interpreting the beauty of nature, and this is evident when we look at the different garden styles around the world. While minimalist Japanese gardens exude serenity with their carefully placed stones and delicately pruned plants, romantic English gardens are an explosion of color and texture, filled with vibrant flowers and winding pathways. And what about xeriscaping, a modern technique that uses drought-resistant plants to create sustainable gardens? Each style has its own cultural signature, and the best part is that you can adapt these ideas to your own space, no matter how big or small. Incorporating elements of these styles can be easier than you think. For a Japanese touch, for example, you can add decorative rocks and plants like bamboo or bonsai. For an English garden, invest in rose, bushes, and flowering shrubs that create that fairy tale feel. And if you live in a region with little water available, xeriscaping can be a practical and ecological solution, using succulents and cacti that require very little irrigation. The secret is to choose elements that match the local climate and your personal style. After all, a beautiful garden should reflect who you are. But here's a challenge. While we draw inspiration from global cultures and styles, we can also think about how to adapt these ideas to smaller spaces, such as balconies or terraces. Imagine transforming a cramped corner into a true green oasis with hanging paths or vertical gardens. Sound challenging? In fact, it's simpler than you think, and that's exactly what we'll talk about in the next topic. Who said you need a huge backyard to have a beautiful garden? Even on balconies, terraces or small corners of the house, it is possible to create a true green haven with a little creativity and planning. The key is to maximize the use of the available space, and this can be done with solutions such as vertical gardens, hanging paths, or even mini vegetable gardens. Imagine transforming an empty wall into an explosion of life with succulents and climbing plants, or using shelves to organize parts of different sizes and colors. The result, a compact residential garden, but full of personality. In addition, there are specific plants that adapt perfectly to indoor environments or small spaces. Succulents, aromatic herbs such as basil and mint, and even small palm trees can bring a touch of nature without taking up much space. And do you know what's even better? These plants often require less care than traditional species, making them ideal for those with busy routines. Just make sure they receive enough light and the right amount of water, and voila, you will have a little piece of landscaping harmony inside your home. But here's an intriguing idea. What if this little garden could be more than just a pretty space? Imagine creating an environment that not only pleases the eye, but also touches the other senses, with soothing scents, relaxing sounds, and even interesting textures. It would be like bringing to life your own personal sanctuary, where every detail has been thought out to promote well-being. Sounds interesting? That's exactly what we'll talk about in the next topic. A garden is not just a physical space. It can be an extension of your personality, a reflection of your tastes, and even a haven for your emotions. Imagine creating a special corner where you can relax after a long day, surrounded by hand-picked ornamental plants or lush grass that soothes your bare feet. Adding personal touches to your home garden, such as rustic, wooden furniture, decorative lights, or even a small water fountain, can transform a simple green space into a true emotional refuge. After all, who doesn't like having a place of their own to recharge their batteries? In addition, exploring sensory elements can make the garden even more immersive. The soft sound of the wind rustling through the leaves, the delicate scent of lavender or rose, merry in the air, and even the rough texture of a decorative stone can awaken unique sensations. And do you know what's even cooler? Creating specific areas within the garden for different activities. A corner for reading, another for meditation, and even a space to welcome friends on sunny days. Each added detail is like putting a little piece of yourself into the project, making the space even more special. But here's a final thought before we conclude our journey. As we create these meaningful spaces, we also realize that they have the power to connect us with something bigger, be it nature, our memories, or even other people. What if you could share your passion for landscaping and exterior design with more people, inspiring them to transform their own spaces? Sounds like an interesting invitation, right? Now, let's take the next step and prepare an engaging introduction to our full content. Have you ever stopped to think about how a beautiful garden can transform not only the environment around you, but also your state of mind? Whether it's a lush backyard with lush grass and ornamental plants, or even a small green corner on the balcony, contact with nature has the power to calm, inspire, and renew our energy. But let's face it, creating a space like this doesn't happen by chance. It requires planning, the right choices, and, of course, a lot of love for what you do. What if I told you that you can learn all of this, step by step, in a practical and accessible way? In this content, we'll explore the secrets behind incredible landscaping, from the initial planning to the finishing touches that make the space unique. You'll discover how to choose the right plants, incorporate structural elements that make all the difference, and even how to keep everything healthy over time. In addition, we'll be inspired by garden styles around the world and learn creative solutions for small spaces. And the best part, all of this has been designed so that you can create a garden that reflects your personality and lifestyle. So, if you have ever dreamed of having a residential garden that impresses, relaxes, and delights, you are in the right place. Get ready to embark on a journey where every detail makes a difference and where the end result goes far beyond what you imagined. Let's get started. We have reached the end of this journey, but know that this is just the beginning of your journey to creating a beautiful and meaningful garden. Throughout this content, we have explored everything from the importance of planning to how to add emotional touches that make the space unique. We have seen how to choose the right plants, incorporate structural elements, keep everything healthy, and even how to adapt different cultural styles to your space. And, of course, we discovered that, regardless of the size of the space, there are always creative ways to transform any corner into a little piece of paradise. But here is one last thought. Just like a garden, learning also needs to be cultivated. If you liked what you saw and want to continue learning about landscaping, exterior design, and all the possibilities that nature offers, do not miss this opportunity. Subscribe to our channel and activate notifications to receive more exclusive content that will help you create and care for your own green refuge. Together, we can transform your vision of a sustainable garden or a harmonious space into reality. So, what do you think? Ready to take the next step and become a true master of harmony in landscaping? Don't delay. Sign up now and become part of this community passionate about transforming spaces and lives through nature. We look forward to continuing this journey with you.